Short stitches is a setting that helps navigate around corners and tight curves and severe angles that prevents stitches from completely bunching up on those inside areas, and it helps prevent thread breaks. This is going to be a little bit easier to see not in 3D. And if we look, let's zoom in tight here. So I'm going to zoom in. You can see that the stitches are kind of jogging in and out. They come back, they come forth, and they alternate. And why are they doing this? Well, let's go into properties and let's find this short stitch feature. And it's right here. It's a checkbox. It is also on the property bar right here. And if I turn that off, it's not going to alternate. It's not going to go back and forth. And it's going to, every penetration on the outside has one that hits on the inside line of that shape. Well, you can see as I'm coming through here, here's my density, and then it gets tighter, 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 tighter. Wow, that's really tight. So much so that if I put on screen, this will give you some perspective as to how zoomed in we are. If I select this little vector circle that I made, we can look down here and I have my measurement unit set to points. That's 7 points wide. That is the size of a 70-10 embroidery needle. That's smaller than a lot of needles that get sewn with. Normally 75-11 is what we sew with, or if we're doing something a little more abrasive or a little tougher material, we may go up to an 80-12. 70-10's a little bit smaller than that, but even here, we're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches falling into the diameter of that needle. If you've ever looked at perhaps somebody else's embroidery where they have holes inside of their letters, in the negative spaces of their letters, and in particular in the kind of tighter corners or tighter angles, tighter curves, this could be why. So turning on this feature alternates those stitches, and it helps prevent thread breaks. It also helps prevent holes in the garment. So let's turn on this feature and see how this acts with this needle penetration. So now it's going back and forth, and I'm not hitting that area nearly as many times. I'm leaving a good deal more material, and so I'm less likely to get a hole inside that tight area. And if I zoom out, and let me hide that needle penetration again, and I'm never going to notice that. So it's going to improve my sew quality. It's going to improve what my material looks like underneath my letter. All of those are good things. Let's look at some of the properties for them. So if I go into advanced, I can see the short stitch parameters. And here we have the width, and right now it's set to 150. Let me zoom back in and take this, well, let me take this out of 3D so that we can see. And we can change that number. So if I make that number 100%, you can see that those stitches go farther in. And if I make it 180%, they come farther out. They're closer to the edge. Now, this is a percentage of a hard-coded short stitch. So you're adjusting based on that really short stitch, not on the normal stitch length. You also have the threshold of when they kick in. So I have 50% here, and that's going to be when the inside dimension is a percentage of the outside dimension when it comes to where those stitch penetrations are. That's when it's going to change and kick in. If I want to kick in more, I can make this bigger. And if I want it less, I can make it smaller. I made it so small that they don't kick in at all. Let's put it back to 50. And then I can also change when it disables itself. Why would I have it disable itself? So a lot of, and you'll see this in old embroidery guides and how do I sew small stitches and small lettering and what do I do? And a lot of them will say turn short stitches off, turn them off. It's going to give you thread breaks. It's bad. Don't do it. Well, okay. So if I'm dealing with really small stitches and then I'm dealing with a shorter version of that stitch, yeah, that could give me a thread break. Well, that's what this does. Whenever I have areas that go smaller than, and the default is 20 points, so 2 millimeters, whenever I have that, if I start going smaller than that, it will automatically disable the short stitches in that area. So it's not a global kind of thing. My whole lettering may not fit those parameters, and I may want those short stitches in certain areas and not in others. Well, okay, I don't want to have to turn it on for some letters and turn it off and convert it to wireframe and no. I have a setting in here and it says if you go smaller than this, okay, it doesn't say it's a bad idea, but it's a bad idea. So I'm going to go ahead and disable it for those smaller areas. So that's what that does. When you start shrinking so small, it will automatically disable those short stitches. So if I make this smaller, and I go back into where those short stitches were, they are automatically disabled because of this property right here. So that's what short stitches are. That's how they work. They're really there to save your material and save you headache from thread breaks and holes in your garment.